Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mrs. Olivier. I'm going to do the accounting equation of the CRJ with you for the grade 9s. First, we're going to look at the classification of accounts. If we look at the classification of accounts, we will have assets, we will have owner's equity, and we will have liabilities. Assets is always my fixed assets, my financial assets, and my current assets. Fixed assets is always the same, land and buildings, vehicles, and equipment. And remember that computers are classified as equipment. Financial assets, you won't get so much to do with this in grade 9, but you can take note that it is always your fixed deposits and any investment that the business have. Then we have our current assets that is also divided into two aspects. That is those that are cash, such as bank, petty cash, and your cash float or your change in your till, or that will become cash, that is your debtors, inventory, or your trading stock. If we look at our owner's equity, it is always the same. Capital, money given by the owner to start a business, plus my net profit, that is incomes minus expenses, minus my drawings, that is money taken from the owner from the business for personal use. Now, incomes will always increase your owner's equity and expenses will always decrease your owner's equity. Now, the ones that we did last year was rent income, interest on fixed deposit, interest on current account. A new one now is sales, commission income, and current income from last year. So I say here as well that sales is new. Then we have our expenses, that is water and electricity, salaries, wages, insurance, telephone, advertisement, consumable stores, and then your cost of sales will be new. If we look at our liabilities, we have our long-term liabilities. That is when the business owes something, so it's heavy on your shoulders. And current liabilities, long-term liabilities for longer than a year than a loan, and current liabilities that you can pay back within a year, and normally that will be creditors or overdraft, bank overdraft, and that we're going to look at this a little bit this year. Right, then we have our basic accounting equation. What must we look at? Number one, we must decide if we receive the money or pay the money. If we pay the money, bank will decrease. So if we receive the money, bank will increase because it is an asset. Right, then we have step 2. Ask yourself, what did you pay or receive the money for? Your choice will be owner's equity, for instance, like for instance, capital that makes your owner's equity more, or drawings that make your owner's equity less, or you can buy an asset, or you can pay expenses. Or step 3, write down the two accounts that you can have. For instance, bank and drawings. You must show in brackets if it's an asset or an expense or whatever to make your equation easier, and then you complete the accounting equation. Right, now we're going to look at a few examples of money that we can receive. Okay, the first one, capital contribution by the owner. For instance, the owner paid 20,000 Rand into the current account of the business to increase his or her capital. Right, step 1, the business received money, thus the bank increased. Bank is an asset. Step 2, the owner paid capital in. So if the owner paid capital in, it means that the owner's equity will increase. Step 3, you write your two accounts. In this case, it will be bank and capital, and then we complete the influence on the owner's equity. For instance, your journal, you receive the money. So it says CRJ. It was paid directly into the current account, so it will be a bank statement. Bank is an asset that increases, assets that increases on the debit side. Owner's equity that increases is on the credit side. So assets increase, owner's equity increase, and your liabilities is 0. Second example, current income. This is all stuff that we did last year. After services were delivered, the business received 1,000 Rand. Okay, first up, the business receives money, so the bank increase. Bank again is an asset. The asset that increases is on the debit side. Then step 2, the client paid for services rendered. That is income, and owner's equity increase. Note that services rendered is called current income. Your two accounts will be bank, and current income. Right, then you complete the influence on your own accounting equation. So again, your journal is a CRJ. Your source document is a bank statement. If you received it at the business and was paid into your cash register, it can also be a CRT or CRR. Bank is an asset that increases, so it is debited. Current income is an income that increases your owner's equity. For that, assets are increased, owner's equity are increased, and liabilities is zero. Again, next question. Any other income that you can receive? Interest on current account, rent income, commission income. The business receives 500 Rand for a storage room that was rented to a tenant. This is just an example of another kind of income. So the business receives money. Bank again is increased. Bank is an asset. Assets increased on the debit side. Then step 2, the client paid for the rent income. It is an income that increases owner's equity. Step 3, write your two accounts, bank and rent income. And then step 4, complete the influence on your accounting equation. CRT is your journal. Again, it can be a bank statement or a receipt, depends on how you received it. If you received it with the cashier, it will be a receipt. Bank is debited, it's an asset that increase. Rent income is an income that increases your owner's equity. So assets increase and owner's equity increase, and your liabilities is zero. Now, the last one that is also a new transaction is cash sales. Now, let's look at it. Cash sales, according to the cash register type, 20,000 Rand, cost of sales, 10,000 Rand. There are two transactions. The money that you receive. Remember that cost of sales can be defined as the amount of trading stock that was sold. So there will be two transactions. The first transaction will be the sales part. So let's look at it. Step 1, the business received money. This bank is increased. Bank is an asset. An asset is debited. The client bought goods. Thus it's sales. Sales is an income that increases your owner's equity. Step number 3, my two accounts is bank and sales. And then in the end, we will complete the influence on my accounting equation, but I'll show you it just now. Then the second part is my cost of sales. Trading stock was sold, so the assets will decrease now, so assets will be credited. Then the client bought the goods. So how much does this goods cost the business? That we show in our cost of sales. It's owner's equity that decreases, not increases, because it is an expense. Then you write your two accounts, cost of sales and trading stock. And then we will complete the influence on the accounting equation. So let's look at it. CRJ, source document, is a cash register type or a cash register roll. First part of the transaction, bank is debited. Bank is an asset that increases. Sales is an income that increases your owner's equity. Assets increase with 20,000 Rand, owner's equity with 20,000 Rand, and your liabilities is zero. Then my cost of sales is debited because my trading stock, that is an asset, got less, and cost of sales is an expense that decreased my owner's equity. So assets decrease with 10,000 Rand and owner's equity decreases with 10,000 Rand. This is the only new transaction for the CRJ in grade 9 so far. So alternative questions that can be asked. For instance, they just ask the source document and the accounting equation. The step stays the same. We received money, it was for rent, but now we only write the source document, assets increase, and owner's equity increase. The steps you can still write for yourself in the side of your book. Right, alternative question 2. The examiner can ask a reason. For instance, the owner contributed capital. Now we know bank increases because we received the money, and capital increases our owner's equity. Why? Because bank increases, bank is an asset, and owner's equity, capital increases my owner's equity. Or they can ask, alternative question, just account debited and credited. And there you must remember that assets increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. You must know your general ledger, and you must know this, that assets increase on the debit side, decreases on the credit side. Owner's equity increases on the credit side, decreases on the debit side. What increases it? Capital and incomes. And what decreases it? Drawings and other expenses. And liabilities decrease on the debit side and increase on the credit side. So how does it look? Cash sales according to CRJ, CRT, cost of sales. So now you have first bank that you received the money is debited, sales is credited, 15 plus 15,000 for assets and 15,000 for owner's equity, because sales is the income that increases your owner's equity. Then we have our cost of sales. Cost of sales is the expense that decreases our owner's equity. Trading stock is an asset that decreases, and that's why it's minus 8,000 Rand and minus 8,000 Rand for owner's equity. Then we can have an all-in-one question. Examiner can add anything plus a journal, for instance, commission received electronically. Then we have CRJ, source document, bank statement. Account debited, bank is an asset that increases because we received the money. Account credited is commission income, because income increases our owner's equity. Assets increase, you said, is debited, so it increases because bank is an asset that increases. Owner's equity is increased because commission is income that increases your owner's equity, and the rest is then no effect. Right, so very important. Remember to complete the attendance register for today. Here's the link for the quiz, and here is the QR code as well. Please complete and show us that how you understood this lesson. Thank you.